Welcome to the SAD52 board meeting. Pledge allegiance, Joe. All right.
Yeah, I was just getting ready.
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just don't have I'll check the email now.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. We've lost a representative, but everybody shows back up. Our first order of business tonight is a work session, which we get to go back and forth with our legislators representing SAD52. I'd like to thank you both for coming, and we have a third one shortly. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself for a second, and then we'll introduce ourselves so in case anybody's not sure who you are.
I'm Sheila Lyman. Spent my entire professional career as a teacher in this district, and I actually serve District 76, but I'm the the minority lead on the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee for the state.
Thank you.
Representative Josh Morris, represent the towns of Turner and Leeds in the State House.
And I'm Jeff Timberlake. I'm the state senator, and I represent Androscoggin and part of Androscoggin, part of Kennebec County. And Sheila's here because she needs to answer all the questions. Josh and I are going to sit here
And get educated.
Get some
She's
education.
not going to do that.
All right. If you don't mind, if we'd start, Kyle. Introduce ourselves.
Please.
Hold on, Kyle. Anthony, do you mind starting?
Kyle Carrington with Green.
Crystal Barris from Leeds.
Alex Scudder from Turner.
Garrett Starbird, student representative at Levitt.
William McKee, student representative at Levitt.
Me too.
Teresa Gillis, assistant superintendent.
Carrie Metz, superintendent.
Peter Ricker, Turner.
Joe McClay from Leeds.
Jenny Mayu, Turner.
Bree Allard, Green.
Ashley Michoud, Turner.
Anthony Shostak, Green.
And probably I'm going to ask,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Gabrielle Kroll, business manager.
So
Green as well. But
when we have issues, she'll be the one reaching out to you going, why did you do this? It's costing us money. We can't print in color anymore. All right. Well, we sent you a list that I wish we would have got to a little bit sooner, but we did get you some. The couple of the biggest issues that we talked about, we sent out to you a little bit earlier. So I guess going back and forth, we just want to kind of go down the list. You guys want to say what your thoughts are about what's going on in Augusta first, potentially?
Well, I'll start, and after I read the list, my recommendation is the first thing you go buy is a bigger and better crystal ball, because this list is, I won't lie to you, we're going to give you, we did the best we could to answer what's here, but it's really crystal ball stuff, guys.
And I would just add that I really wish I had this yesterday, because I did have the opportunity to sit 2-to-1 with Commissioner Macon, and I brought up the bus arms, and I brought up the 3-year-olds, and I brought up the construction question, and I brought up the EPS question.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
but my general, I always get anxious about these things because the number of bills that we heard last year that, as you guys know, have huge impact on you. We're now moving in and looking at other bills, and one of your first questions had to do with, I think it was, I was looking because, as Jeff said, we had all kinds of people taking a look at these. Priorities for the session will have the greatest impact. My feeling of coming out of last winter's bills, a ton of conversation and legislation is in place on teacher certification and keeping people in the field. Is there a magical answer right now? I don't feel there is. There are a lot of things that we agree on in the committee, and there are areas that we have disagreement. A lot of concern with the cost of it. As you guys know, the economy and budget is crazy. So when we're making decisions there, that's having a huge impact. School construction was another one we spent a huge amount of time on. So I feel like keeping teachers, encouraging teachers, special ed field is a huge need. There's a lot of bills in place that are working towards those things. In my opinion, there's some good things within those bills. There are some concerning, alarming things within those bills. So how they're gonna eventually wash out, I'm not sure. The school construction piece is huge. It's sort of in place for the schools that are on a list, but as you folks know, there are many schools that have been condemned at certain levels and people have had to relocate. They may not even be on the construction list. Pete shared with me the question about smaller construction projects, and Commissioner Macon did say that there are grants available and that if you reach out, I can't remember the man's name, I don't know if you two know, that does the school construction for the state. I can see his face, but I can't think of his name right now. But if you go onto the Department of Education site, so to me it's the teachers, keeping them, getting them, school construction, of course, you know, your curricular, your academics, and there's a whole lot of bills on that, as you know, that will have a huge impact on schools if all of them pass as far as changes in curricular. So that would be my response to general as well as your first bullet in the email.
No, go for it. This is a workshop, so it's fairly carried then.
Pick your topic.
So I'll stay on school construction because I serve on the legislative committee for the Superintendent Association, so I've read the report and we've talked about it. And I know that one legislator, I can't remember his name right now, he's put forth just a starter bill. I think he's down in Portland. I can't remember his name.
Brennan?
Yes, Mike Brennan. Yeah.
He has most of the bills.
Yeah, so I'm going to share with you sort of part of the conversation we had about it, because the group of superintendents is from across the state. And here was the most sort of like jaw-dropping part, right? So superintendent, I'm not going to name anybody, superintendent from down in the south had sort of led multiple school districts that this person had worked in through multiple new building projects. All of them completely locally funded. And so, and I live in the Oxford Hills district, work here, right? So we know what that looks like as to whether or not the communities that we live in could fully fund a brand new school. And so the bill that Brennan had put forward included some requirement for the community to spend some money on it, which on the surface makes sense, I get that. But I think in the Western Maine Superintendent's group, we sort of all universally agreed that if we had a building get selected by the state and had to ask our communities for $500,000, you know, to have the rest of it funded, the likelihood it would pass is pretty low. It would drastically reduce that. And so I think, as all things, and I know you've said this before, Jeff, the world of Southern Maine and the world for the rest of us, you know, like that same superintendent, I said, I bet you still have world language in your elementary schools. And he says, yes, starting in kindergarten. And we eliminated world language in the middle school last year. We only have it at the high school now. So that sort of cry of poverty when, or need when they are still funding things that none of us can even imagine funding is just sort of something, like I just figured I wanted to share that story because to have specific examples of just that inequity and how, just in that small story, like, wait, you've led how many districts through how many fully funded brand new schools without any state help?
And that is, we could spend hours there. And that's a lot of dissension within the work that we do on the committee. Because we're hearing it from all over the state, not just Southern Maine. And as you said, Western Maine, Northern Maine are struggling in big ways in many of these areas. But there isn't a magical fix.
No, right.
The biggest thing that I want to send for a message tonight and promote, and would love to do it statewide, is that when we sit, and I'm sure Jeff and Josh would say the same thing, when we sit in committee, especially at the public hearings, it is so crucial to hear from more people. You know, just the special interest groups, the lobbyists, those folks that are always there and always testifying, doesn't get the point across in the way that I believe it should, and many of us sit in that horseshoe field. You know, folks, we had a lot of bills last year to do with retention and also suspension of students, grade 5 and younger. We had superintendents, principals, teachers, school counselors show up, and they were telling why we needed to change the expectations there. Those testimonies were unbelievably impactful for the discussion that went on in the horseshoe. Did it go the way some of us wanted it to completely? No, but almost. So I really believe that the more folks, and I understand people might have to leave their classroom for a time, or the work, if it's a principal or board member or whatever, but the more voice that's coming directly from the field when we're in that beginning of considering legislation is crucial, and we don't have it. MPA will give their position, Maine Superintendent's Association will give their position, MSMA, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
When those people showed up for the children that were unsafe in our schools, it had an impact. And I know that doesn't necessarily make it easy, but
No, it's helpful to hear.
it's important.
Yeah, thank you. Anthony, you had a question?
It's a question for you, Peter. Do we have a list of the topics that we sent to them?
So they actually, Kyle submitted a list of questions, and I forwarded off to them. So it wasn't a group one.
list, it was just Kyle sent us a list, we sent it out to them last
Kyle's the
night.
one who sent me this mess?
Yeah.
Well, and then I added construction,
We just got it
EPS.
this morning, so no, we don't have, do we
I
have
can
it?
forward.
We'll forward
I
it
can
to you
forward
right
the
now.
list.
Yeah, we
Yep,
can forward it to you
yep,
right now.
Yep.
That list had a lot of people scrambling today.
Good job, Kyle. I told Kyle, I'm like, nice list, Kyle.
I can vouch for that. Josh, anything you'd like to add to this? Because
So obviously I am not on the, I've not spent time in the education committee in my time at the legislature. So as far as some of the education pieces and some of those things, I do understand some of the issues about costs. Two committees I have served on, I know couple of your biggest costs are with health insurance. I've served on that committee for 8 years. That is, I know, a huge cost for school districts. And, you know, one of the things that I did get passed is to allow for more detailed claims data to hopefully be able to get more competitive rates for health insurance. So certainly would love to know how that's working and something to take advantage of. I also have served on the Labor Committee up there, so there have been plenty of stuff that has come before the Labor Committee when I was on it that I know affect school costs, and I think the three of us here have always opposed things like binding arbitration or a negotiating policy or right to strike and those types of things. There are perennial bills. We have been able to fight them off, but who knows as the political climate continues to change. So as far as from my experience in the legislature, I certainly know some of the costs that can come up and some of those bills that have come up perennially in the legislature. And I'm not sure if they're sitting out there this year, but they usually come up, you know, every year. And one of the chief sponsors of it is one on the other side running for governor.
I think, and the only thing I want to add, and then we'll have a total discussion, is I served 4 years on the appropriation and 4 years in leadership. And, you know, it's always comes a discussion of money and is the school going to get funded, and what is the funding going to be for next year, and what is the funding going to be for the year after. You know, the funding's already set basically for this year, so, you know, you're getting basically, you're being fully funded out of the state. You're getting your 55%. We've increased revenue sharings to the towns over the last few years big time because our intake of tax dollars has been at record levels. You've probably all heard that there's about a $252 million surplus in the state of Maine right now, but there's about $800 million worth of bills that they want to fund with them. And I don't know where it's going. I think for this year, next year, it's gonna be, you know, for this upcoming year, it's gonna be pretty much set. It's set in stone where it's at. I don't see them going into cut school funding. I can see highway construction being cut in the upcoming year. I can see some things there. The problem that we don't know where it's going is all the federal money we get is, you know, if you've watched today and whether you believe it or not, you know, today they cut, they're no longer sending money out for daycares. And you don't know what tomorrow brings and whether that'll last a week or whether that'll last a month or whether that's a permanent thing and until they figure it out. You know, there's a lot going on out there that's gonna happen federally. And remember that the state of Maine, over half of the money that we bring in the state of Maine comes in federally. And over half of the money that you folks receive comes in federally. And we don't know where it's gonna go. We don't know where Title IX is gonna go. We don't know where any of these things are gonna end up in the next year until they work their way through the court systems. So it's really hard for us to tell you. I can tell you that this year, I suspect the funding's gonna be about where it's supposed to be. I don't see any big extras coming in. I don't see any big pushes because, you know, right now, the big battle is gonna be when we get back there and really get to work. Yesterday was our first day in session. But, you know, one of the big things that isn't being covered out of the big beautiful bill was they didn't cover overtime, they didn't do tips, they didn't do over 65, they didn't do tax conformity to its fullest in the state of Maine. The governor chose to only pick bits and pieces. I see is that's going to be a huge discussion in Augusta that they want that money. So that $252 million, that bill, if they was to do full tax conformity, is $400 million. So in order to do full tax conformity, they gotta take any of the surplus money we got and then go find about another, well, there's actually another 150 there. So they got about 350 million of it. They'd have to go find another 100 to $50 million more, and they're gonna go out and search and scrounge and dig and claw to find that. Now that's whether the other side of the aisle agrees with the other side of the aisle. So we don't know where that's gonna go. But I can tell you they had an awful lot of bills sitting on the table that got carried over from last session, and they're all spending bills. Some of them are gonna hurt you because they're gonna create these mandates, and I'll be honest with you, I have never, ever, ever voted for a mandate because I don't think that if we're gonna put the bill forward, then we need to pay the bill. It's not fair to move that forward and say, okay, we're gonna pass the bill, but all these towns have to pay for it. Baloney. If you wanna pass the bill, then you pay for it. But we got an awful lot of programs coming forward that were pushed off last year that won't come until the next biennium. The newest gimmick played at the appropriations table is when we can't fund something this year because we run out of money, what we do is we strip the fiscal note off it.
Yeah.
And then we move it into the next biennium, so that you folks sitting around this table can say, okay, we're gonna build a new school over here 3 years from now. We're gonna put it in the budget, you're gonna have to fund it 3 years from now, but we're not gonna put it in this budget, so it doesn't show up, and you guys don't have to deal with it. What the legislature has learned to do in the last 4 years is to move things off into the next biennium. It's something that was never really done. This is something that just happened. It just started happening when they started doing these majority budgets. So you got some stuff coming forward into the next biennium that's gonna spend more money and gonna move some bills your way. What are they all? I can't tell you what they all are tonight, but I'll try to do my best to keep in touch with you, Carrie,
Yeah.
and keep you abreast of where everything is going. This is a short session. We're supposed to be out of session on April 18th, and I believe that we'll be out on April 18th. There's like 10 Republicans running for governor, 3 independents, and I think eight Democrats running for governor, about 7 people running for Congress, and 10 people running for the Senate, for the US Senate. So everybody wants to get out of there so they can get to campaigning. And so I think they're gonna be as short as they can to get out of Dodge. And so I don't think it's gonna be a long session. But I can't tell you what the outcome is gonna be today. I really haven't got, give me the middle of February, I'll have a rough idea of where I think it's going. But today, I can't tell you whether I think there's gonna be a bunch of money coming to education. I don't see a bunch. They're gonna say they have been funding education at 100% for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I have it right here. And the making.
And,
I'll forward it to you.
and,
Yeah,
and-
that'd be great.
And, you know, and they're gonna say that, and they're gonna say that they don't need to give any more to education right now.
Yeah, and then they're going to, and you'll see it, I will forward this, and then you can disseminate it. But the local piece and the formula piece and, yes.
So that's what I see.
So there's reports on construction and then report around EPS. Do you see taking up, like, EPS is a big, like, adjusting that? Do you see that moving to the next session?
Well,
Portland wants us to.
MEPRI, you know,
Yeah.
the Maine Education Policy Research Institute
Yeah.
gives us reports every year. We've not yet heard their report for this 2026, but we will in the next few weeks, I'm sure. And they always make recommendations, but that doesn't mean that the department applies those recommendations. For the time that I've been in the legislature, there have been multiple bills trying to deal with the EPS formula. Yesterday, Commissioner Macon promised me that she could sit down with me and Representative Hagan, who's also on the Education Committee, and give us a quick rundown of the EPS plan in a way that we would feel more comfortable, because every year we hear a report on it. It's like when you're teaching students a new concept, you sit in that lesson and you go, yeah, I get this. And then I'll go away from it and someone will ask me something and I'll say, oh, we just talked about that. There's a difference between equity and equality. And then I lose my whole, it's like you have to use it and use it to retain. It is a complicated system, as you guys know. So we are going to take her up on that offer, because I feel like if there's a way to make this simpler so that we can talk with people about it in a friendlier way, that's going to serve everybody better. But EPS has been at the top of the conversation, continues to be. MEPRI continues to make recommendations. I haven't seen any significant changes to EPS. You know,
Yeah, there have been changes, but the report is dense. Like, it's really hard.
it
Like,
is.
I've read it twice to make sure I understand it. So
Yes.
What I see happening, and what I hear happening, is the southern part of the state that we talk about is getting sick of being cut out of the EPS formula and only getting about 40% or 30%, and they want to get the same, and they want to take away from all of us to give to them. And that's going to be the fight that is there enough of them yet in the southern part of the state? Do they have enough representatives and senators in those cities to actually change that formula and take away from that? It's been something, this is my 16th year there, and it's been something that's been argued for at least 8 of them.
with multiple legislative proposals every
Trying to
time.
change it.
Every time.
So far, we've been able to knock that back. Now, can we do that for the rest of the time? I don't know. There's gonna be a day that comes, but I'm not convinced this year anything like that's gonna happen. I see it staying about the way it is.
So I know we looked into the possibility of billing Medicare or Maine Care for some of the services that our kids receive in special education. And that's something that the department encourages. And we talked about it at finance. Gabby did a ton of research. We sort of talked to other districts and determined that it just really, we didn't have the capacity to do it, right? So yes, would it be a good thing for all these districts to start doing that, to bring in another revenue stream? Yes, but we'd need a whole nother set of employees, plus there's the concern that if we do things wrong, then are we then like, have to send the money back, right?
Yeah.
Because we've made errors. So part of that, just a small thing that I'll leave you with is talks about regionalizing that level of special education, that administrative level, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to sort of do those kinds of administrative things that a smaller district can't do. Like Lewiston does that. You know, we've got how many thousands of kids? We just don't have the capacity. So I think even if it ends up being smaller things, I think that would be helpful. And I also wonder if there's some opportunities for what might have been learned around regionalization for the pre-K special education, because we're working right now closely with CDS to try and help ourselves sort of get through this transition, and it's actually been kind of helpful.
Are you one of the cohorts?
Yes, we're in
Okay.
cohort 2, so
'Cause-
we're implementing this year. And it's
Yeah.
been a heavy lift, but
Yeah.
no question, we think kids are getting services quicker. More kids are getting services quicker that will help us hopefully in the long run. And partnering with CDS on a couple things has been really helpful. So I wonder if that also might provide some lessons for like, how could that look in other parts of special education?
Yeah, and that was one of the goals of, you know, establishing the cohort. And
Yeah.
Commissioner Macon asked me that yesterday, and I wasn't sure if you
Yep.
guys were part of the
Yep,
cohort.
we are.
I told her, based on the questions I was getting, I thought that maybe you were.
Yep.
I would share with you, she did mention about, when you said rise in special education and transportation costs are outpacing our budget. She said there are expenditure-driven components in the EPS formula providing some relief based on these costs. There's also a special education hardship adjustment, but the bar is very high. It's based on a formula that compares special education costs to the overall district budget. So I suspect that you're aware of that relief thing? Okay.
Yeah,
So.
we, the first couple years I was here, one of the big things we did, and when Gabby came on board, was clean up our data, because some of the data we were sending the state that determined the funding we were getting, there were errors.
Yeah.
So in the business office, like, and so we feel like we're in a good place now that what we're giving them is exactly what they need to make sure we're getting what we should be getting. But there were some questions early on, so we feel like we got a good handle on that now.
And could I just add that if you go onto the DOE site or you go onto Legislature Maine and look, you can filter out the bills, and you can filter out just the education bills. I actually can probably get a list of what's being considered this winter and, you know, forward it to you, and then you guys can disseminate it. But the reason I say that is one of the ways that you can engage is if you look at those bills and you look at, you don't have to read all of the bill information, you know, look at the summary especially, look at the budget, you know, what they're stating they're going to need. But then that's when you could reach out, because that's another one of your questions, has to do with reaching out to your representative or your senator. You could then reach out and say, you know, Senator Timberlake, I was reading LD 19 whatever's coming up, and you know, this is a position our board takes. If that information comes to Josh or Jeff and then they give it to me, and then I can say, you know, I have from RSU 52, that's another way of making some stronger voices heard by getting a direct link from you to your local person that then can give it to folks on the committee. And during work session, that can be used to hopefully influence decisions that are made.
You're the one that has those most questions, so that's your guidance on that. You have the
She's the
list.
most complicated. I'd rather hear from the rest of you.
Ours are pretty
She asks all
simple.
the hard ones.
We all have to ask her for the right. So, you know, you saw the general list. I think you've answered 2 or 3 of the harder ones in that direction. Was there anything really out of the list that we maybe want to, but that being said, does anybody come up with anything on their mind, any other discussions or thoughts or either way?
This is your chance to holler at me.
I guess, I mean, if I can,
Oh, of course.
and I understand there's talk about the formula. I mean, how honest is the talk? I mean, do the people sitting around the table actually sit there and say, what kind of a school would we get with this minimal, like, this is the minimum standard, this is what we'll pay, this is the minimum standard. Nobody in this state would sit there and allow their school district to have a school like that. So I think that's where that conversation needs to start. And maybe it does, I'm not there.
It does, and it's a good question, but I would invite you, and you don't have to be there, you can watch them. People are, EPS, it brings on the floral of emotions. And you've got superintendents there that are entirely fed up with that formula, feel like their district has never, been treated fairly, and then you've got folks that are much quieter because they're in a much different place. And it's a complicated, very complicated system. But I'll tell you what, if you listen to the workshop that we have every year, it is a complex, there's a lot of thought and math and science that is in that formula. And are people afraid to ask tough questions? Are people demanding that formula gets reworked because it's not working for this school, this school, this school, or this district, or this district? You bet they are, and they're being blunt about it. And the fact is, we're not, this is where you help me, Senator Timberlake, when it comes down to making our decisions,
Well,
it goes one way.
To follow up, I'd say if there's this huge surplus, and if there's money that can be just tossed away into fraud, then shouldn't there be a little bit more so that our kids can get the schools that they deserve? I mean, that just doesn't seem to be a defensible position, that we've got all this money sitting here, you can't have any more, but we've got all this, and now we're going to figure out how to spend it. When you've got people saying, this needs to be spent on this, and it's killing our communities because the taxes are so flipping high.
So here's the thing to consider. At the state of Maine, there's 21 committees. So if you look at the budget, and believe me, I get it. I sit in our horseshoe, in our caucus, each day of session, and every committee reports out. And the education committee budget, just like your local budget, education, the money spent and funded on education is huge. Well, you've got 19, 18, whatever, other committees that all have a budget as well, and they're seeing this huge, what's the percentage? 70-something% of the total budget. This is you, appropriations man. It's what we're taking for education for the state of Maine, it's just like what you're taking locally for
From the
education.
towns. Yep.
And so these other folks will just be like, Representative Lyman, you guys have a budget that is, and we get that you're not getting everything you want, but look at what we're asking for, 2 million or 200 million. And so I just offer that without seeing the whole breadth of how much money is being discussed and in what areas it's going besides education complicates that.
I think, Anthony, that what you got to look at in that is that when we look at the numbers at the state level, the enrollment of students is down across the state.
Yeah.
The number of money, the amount of money we're spending is up in what we spend in the state. So a lot of the legislators stand back and look at that and said, why are we spending more and more and more every year, and we got less and less and less students every year? So why is education, by all practical purposes, in today's, from when I served on the Appropriations Committee 4 years ago, should be about 15% less. Okay, if you take the number of students enrolled and everything that's happening, but yet it isn't, it keeps going up. Why is it? Number one, it's Augusta's fault, for the biggest part, because we keep putting all of these new curriculums we want to put in place. Instead of teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, we decide that we have to put all this other stuff out there. I don't agree with it, but that's okay. I get outvoted and I have to move on in life. But the fact of the matter is that we keep doing that. And you folks keep doing that on your end, because you keep saying, although I think Carrie told me this year that you guys, your enrollment was up a little for over what?
We're a unicorn. Every year, our enrollment goes up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Unlike everyone around us.
But everybody around it has gone down. But unlike that, their budgets have still all gone up because the cost to drive the bus is still gonna go the same number of miles and everything else. I understand all that. But the legislature looks at it as, we're already funding education at 55%. We're already giving the towns, revenue sharing at 5%, 5.5%. Okay? We're sending the town of Turner, the town of Greene, the town of Leeds, just in revenue sharing enough so we ought to be able to hold, to hold the property taxes where they're at. As long as the school district doesn't go crazy with raising its fee. And so, when you say the state's got a surplus, we have a surplus, we always have a surplus, and we have a surplus because we're overtaxing the people of the state of Maine. But that's another story for another day. But you take the money we have there, and we have to divide it up amongst all the other committees, the highway department, inland fisheries and wildlife, the ag department, we can go down through them, medical, main care, Medicare,
It won't even cover.
you can't even get to where we're at in that now. And everybody wants more of a bigger piece of the pie. But the pie's not growing. I mean, we're at a $12.3 billion budget now. 12.3 or 12.6?
I think it's 12.3, yeah, it'll be
12.3. It'll be 12.6 by the end of this year.
Yeah.
But we're at 12.6. And when I started, it was $6.7 billion. So that's what's happened over the last few years. And I don't know how we sustain that. It makes me nervous as heck, but so far, everything goes up, but every time I go out to eat, it costs me more too. So
But people are
that's
paying that.
that's where we're headed. But that's why I don't see a lot more money coming your way. I think you gotta live in the budget that you got today. I don't see a bunch of extra, but I don't see it being cut either.
That's probably our greater concern. None of us were expecting to see any money
You tell me what the feds are gonna do, and as I started my saying at the beginning, you need to buy a bigger and better crystal ball, and find Jenny to rub it real good or something.
Are you a little?
Bummer.
I have enjoyed having my father in front of me for the first time.
He's answering to you.
Yeah, do you have questions for him, Jenny?
No, but I did take a picture, so I can keep it for memory.
Anybody else have any other questions? We sent some out earlier just because that was some of the thoughts, but does anybody have anything else? Anthony?
So I've spoken with a number of parents in Greene who would, they choose to homeschool in large part because they don't vaccinate their children. And their children will not be allowed to attend the school because the state has decided that it will no longer give religious exemptions. And so I'm using this opportunity to tell you that is hurting people in our district. These are people who would like to avail themselves of the free education that their taxpayer-funded education that their children are entitled to, but they're being discriminated against because they are following their conscience and their religious beliefs.
And you're exactly right, and that's a battle that's continuing to be fought on many different levels, and that homeschooling applies not only to the vaccination, it's applying to many folks that feel like parental rights are not being considered enough within the public school. And so there's all kinds of legislation in the works that are trying to address the concerns and worries that, and I'm sure you folks hear it as well in the positions that you share. I actually submitted 3 parental rights bills last year, and my passion has always been a teacher, and I was a public educator for 36 years in this district. I absolutely believe and was an advocate for public school, but at the same time, I was a mom, and I believe in parental rights wholeheartedly. So that example that you're giving, as well as others, and the changes that we're seeing, and some of the attitudinal things that are going on because of folks struggling with some of the social issues. It's being fought at the state level as well through legislation proposals. Some that some of you here would probably be supportive of, and some that some of you here would not be. It's the thing that goes on over there. But people are trying to do what's best for kids, and we're trying to think about what a public education institution is about and how that's different from other institutions. It's complex. The work is very important. The work isn't easy. I had no idea.
But you gotta, I mean, my simple answer to it is, I didn't support that, Anthony. I was on the parental rights. You should make the decision of whether you want to vaccinate your kids or not. I lost the vote. You have to learn how to count. We're outnumbered, and that's where we're at, and that's what the people of the state of Maine elected, and so that must be what they want. Until you change that formula and that numbers change enough to make that change, that's where we're at. And you know,
that same analogy, or that
it goes
with any topic, whether it's the controversial curricular, whether it's what do we prioritize as, you know, teachers and teacher leaders in education. Those things are, you can bet, they are being talked about, and they are being talked about very openly and honestly by all perspectives, and there's clear division.
You know, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, it's we go over, we fight for our district, we fight for what we think our district represents and what our district wants. And as I tell everybody, we're not going to agree on everything. My wife and I don't agree on everything. We've been married over 48 years, and trust me, we haven't agreed on everything, but yet we've still stayed married and still work it out. And it's all right for us to agree to disagree. We can still be friends, we can still be cordial, and we can still do the things we need to do. But I'm going to go fight the fight of what I believe, and I'm going to fight for this district, and I'm going to fight for everybody here. But we're not going to win the battles and all of them, but we're going to do the best we can, and we're going to give you the best information that I can give you. And that's all I can do.
That's all we can ask. Joe, and then Nathan.
Fighting battles, I mean, I assume you're familiar with the lawsuit that the Maine Human Rights Commission has filed against us. Shortly after we enacted policy, ACDC. I don't know, maybe, I'm not asking you to look at a crystal ball. I heard you already say once, you know, we're not going to know what happens to Title IX until things play out in the legal system. But we're perhaps part of that right now, and I'm curious if you have any advice for us as a board on how we navigate that process, or if there's anything going on at the state level trying to resolve the discrepancy between Title IX and state law.
I give you Timberlake philosophy, and it's worth exactly what you paid for it. No.
Until you walk out the door.
Yeah.
That long?
No, I wouldn't get all worked up one way or the other at this point in time. I'd give it some time and let it play out. It's going to work its way through the court system. There are groups fighting it that are going to pay the bills and take this on. Is a school going to get sued? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But if I ran scared every time in life that I had something come up against me, then I would have never done anything in my life. And so I don't do that. I would be at a point, it ain't going to do you any good to worry about it. It ain't going to do you any good to get all worked up over it. Wait and see, sit back and wait and see what happens with it along the way, because it's going to get litigated.
And it will do you a lot of good to do what's right for students and for people. And, you know, I see one person in your circle that I worked with for, I don't know how many years on, we had to make decisions all the time to do with students and children and learning and curriculum. And we're in a tough world right now on many different levels. But that doesn't mean that it's not okay to take a stand, especially a stand that is, if you're listening to your community, or you're listening to your parents, you're listening to the people, just like we have to do at the state level, you have to do it at the local level. That's who you're representing, that's who you're serving. And, you know, use that to your strength.
I mean, I know that there were several bills that were considered in the last session to try and, try and put the state policy on board with Title IX as far as it relates to, who gets to compete in what sport. I mean, to me, it's fairly self-evident, which, how it is, and I think this board made the right decision in trying to bring that. It is an issue that's ongoing, but I can tell you, I think that the people overall, as a state, we hear all the time, it's an issue where the overwhelming majority of people do believe that, that kids should play the sport that they are, the gender that they are, that there shouldn't be a sort of a difference in terms of boys should play boy sports and girls should play girl sports, where you have separate sports for the two sexes. And I think we tried to get that codified in state law. We actually did get it passed, at least one policy passed in the House, went down to the Senate. It didn't work out as well. But I think the reality of it is, I think as Jeff said, from what I understand, while the suits are coming, I think there's also people that are willing to spend money to defend the decision to keep the sports, in the spirit of what Title IX is, which is to make sure that biological girls have an opportunity to play sports.
And last but not least, it's gonna come to referendum.
Yeah,
It's gonna be voted on. And the court systems, if you've been dealing with them at all, we'll have the referendum vote before the court systems have a rule on it. And because they have the signatures, so it will be on the ballot. And then we'll know where it goes. Because the courts, if you haven't paid attention, move a little slower than I do, and I don't move that fast.
But that's another great example of staying very involved and having your voice heard however it can be with what's happening at the state level, because those changes to the Maine Human Rights Act, some of the smallest language changes that have had an unbelievable impact across the state have just occurred in the last 5 years. And it's until that's changed again, it was changed within the 5 years that I've been there, it very well can be changed again. So, but that's where the people of Maine have to be heard. And as Josh said, it clearly shows where the percentages of the public stands in regards to that one issue as well as others, and the nation stands. So it's be informed, reach out to the resources. There are many there. There are many schools taking this on in a very professional way, making decisions just like you would about academics and what is it that we need to do that's best for the students that come before us, whether it's Title IX, it's reading, it's math, it doesn't matter. You need to put that standard out in front of you. And some of the work that we've done in Augusta that may have brought around some results that you guys are suffering consequences of doesn't mean don't do the best job that you can, even when it's not easy.
Thank you. Anthony, you had a...
Yes. One of the things that I learned being here on the board is that the state student performance assessments change with some rapidity, which kind of makes them difficult to use as a tool to assess actual student performance over time. What kind of efforts are being made to make certain that the Department of Education allows for a longer period of data collection without changing the assessment?
If you only knew, if Commissioner Macon was here right now, she'd be going, oh, Sheila. I mean, I've lived this world, and I've lived it here in this district. Assessment, There's just nothing in stone with assessment. And so I'll never forget, I took a graduate course here called Triangulation, Multi-Use of Assessment, and that you have to look at all different angles in assessing a child. So at the state level, we've talked about this. We talk about it every year, and we talk about it for hours. And the conversation that comes to us from the department are concerns with changes to the assessment and it not being a true measure because of lack of consistency, lack of, Carrie could help me on, and Terry on some of these things, that there's a whole list of reasons why we've had inconsistencies. And then you know the national test that only takes a certain population of students and looks at them across the country and compares them is another way of taking a look at assessment. The bottom line is, whatever this district decides is going to demonstrate the success of a student, academically, certainly, is got to be something that you folks have dug into thoroughly, which I know from being a teacher in this district for so many years and loving that work. This district put tons of effort into that. And I trust that you're still doing that. And the state and the feds are going to continue to agree and disagree on what's happening there. But as a local, this is why I'm such an advocate for local control. As a local district, you have the professionals that are trained to get the information and apply it to the students that are coming before you. And that's where your power is. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. And yes, do we want the state to be working cohesively with you that way? Absolutely. That's one of the things I'm trying so hard for when I'm sitting across listening to all these different debates. But it's not an easy answer. That's such another workshop question. It's Commissioner Makin's response would be very different from mine. I always believed that any assessment that I gave a student would give me information. Did I believe that some had a lot more credibility than others? Absolutely. Did I believe that we sometimes spent a whole lot of money on an assessment that was not giving me nearly the information that a performance-based one would? Absolutely. That would be my contributions to the discussion, which I did do. But that is a huge, huge piece of education. And we have professionals that are so qualified to go through that mud and those weeds to come out with the best product. And it may not be a state mandate. It may not be a state legislation. It may be a local decision. I believe in that. Sorry, you hit a nerve.
Ashley?
One more questions I can answer.
Are there ever any conversations, or do you see there being conversations around whether public education is going to be keeping up with the changes that kids will be needing in the next 15, 20 years? I mean, one of my concerns as a parent when I'm thinking about what kind of education I want my kids to have is, what is the economic landscape going to look like 20 years from now? And is the typical education they're receiving now really going to be sufficient when we know AI is already replacing nurses, replacing doctors and engineers? Well, not certainly, honestly, but you know, with where it's going and what kids are learning, is it keeping up? What's the piece of that going to look like?
For the 36 years I taught, that was a discussion that was had. I remember when the first computers came into the school and we were just doing dots and lines. I don't even remember now. And then it was Oregon Trail, the most primitive form of Oregon Trail. Teachers took the computers home in the summer to play Oregon Trail. But that was the beginning, though, for me, of some of the most impacted changes in education due to technology. And that's only grown unbelievably since those years. And AI, those conversations are being had all the time. The governor's forming committees to deal with AI. I had a call from Changing the Tide, a group in Falmouth that's working hard to address computer use and parents being informed about how much times their students are on computers, what are the AI policies going to be, cell phone, it's continual. Also, what's a college degree going to look like? We just had this discussion last session. You know, students that are in college right now for architectural degrees or business degrees, and talking about what their course of study is right now and how might that change, even at the post-secondary level as they pursue careers. So yes, to answer another very complicated question, there are a whole lot of folks that are looking at all those different areas. Do they have all the answers? No, but they're concerned, they have questions, that implications for what is this going to mean for teaching our youngest children to graduation and then beyond.
The only thing I can tell you, if they'd had ChatGPT when I was in school, I'd have passed English.
Jeffrey.
It's factual.
I know, I do know.
He passed it with my mom.
I was gonna say, he had Joe, so he was all set.
I'll just say on the AI front, though, that I know it's something that's, you're right, it's coming, and it's something that.
It's here.
It's here, and I know just from the policies that I've been working on and insurance issues, one of the things we have to regulate is how insurance companies are going to be using it, because the concern is it really dealt with more denials and things like that, and not wanting the AI to do things that, trying to ensure that there's still human contact on some of those issues, at least in the early stages. But I think you're right. We got to figure out, going forward in terms of education and everything, where is this going?
It's a LD 524 is coming forward in the Judiciary Committee, which deals big time with AI. It's a horrible subject, but I talked to a resident from our district, Abby Shabbat, who worked in the crime lab for the Maine State Police over child porn. And this is becoming a real big problem of people taking just a picture and then creating these pornographic things. How are we going to deal with this? But that problem is becoming, what we're learning, is that problem is becoming very big in high schools. That children are taking the AI and doing things with them that just, Abby Shabbat, you have to work hard to turn my face red. And Abby Shabbat did a really good job at turning my face red. Because
Don't go into details.
no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. My daughter's over there, okay?
Your sister's here.
You grew up with me, so you ain't got no excuse. But this is a problem, and it's a really big problem. And the legislature's taking a hard look at it, but it's moving fast. And I don't know as we keep up with it, but the one thing I will say when you get done at the end of the day, the one thing you're always going to need at the end of the day, you're going to need the carpenter to build your house. You're going to need the plumber to make your flush work. You're going to need the electrician to turn it on, because the AI is not going to fix those things. And you're going to need the mechanic, and you're going to need the guy to plow the roads, because AI is not going to do that. And the one thing that I think the school district needs to really pay attention to is whether it offers those parts of the trades that we used to offer years ago. And that has to do with home ec and how to balance the checkbook and how to do everything else. If you're going to get my plug of the day, it's going to be that, kids will learn more in shop class than they will learning how to play Oregon Trail or whatever it was.
So you learned a lot in Oregon Trail.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, hunt.
probably not. But, but those are the things that I look at that we need, if you're going to prepare our kids for the future, those are all things that are still going to happen. The basics are still there. We can't forget the basics.
Well, I want to take a second and thank you, all three of you, for showing up. Does anybody on my left have any? So, well, Kyle took care of the whole side. Only thing I would ask is if we didn't elaborate on something that you folks have found out information, if you can send it to Carrie.
I
That'd
make
be cool.
Sheila compose the answers that we formed for all of them and send them to you.
Yeah.
So that you can
Make
send
sure,
them to everybody.
you have
guys
Carrie's
have this?
information. You're now officially the secretary. I don't know how that works.
No, she isn't.
Yes, she is. The senator has spoken to her, to his representative. See, this is pretty good. I come here, my brother's the chair, my daughter's on the board, and my sister's a rep, so I get the easy job.
It's been nice to talk to you.
Yeah, did you forget Jessica over here?
No. Yeah, but she's not here. I can't give her orders. I tried. She didn't listen.
I will tell you.
But I still love her.
a
She's
great
clearly smarter
resource
than the rest of us then.
For myself is, and I'm sure you guys know this as well, I reach out, Peter's son, Ethan, is studying in college at Rochester Institute of Technology. You cannot imagine the conversations. I call him up after a public hearing or some of these bills and say, talk to me about, and actually, one of the things coming out of the governor's group for AI, I told him, I said, I'm gonna forward this to you and I want you to give me your gut reaction. You know, folks that are in the field, that are really new in the field, as well as folks that are teaching it, those are our greatest resources at the state level that they're working with to deal with some of the questions and concerns and the realization that we have to get some things in place, even if it's minimally right now, we need some things in place. And so we need to go out to those folks that he alleviated a lot of things. I understand. I know, I'm sorry. But it's a valid point. So reach out to folks.
We got a long time left, so we're good.
You got what?
But thank you so much, all three of you.
Yeah, really, thank you.
Josh?
Yes, sir.
You got the escort, can you handle that?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Nobody has to handle the fat guy. He'll make it.
Watch the ice outside, Sheila.
Don't
I'm going to. I walk like this now. Place it.
You know,
Thank you,
and for
guys.
the record, you don't have to leave. We got hours of exciting stuff ahead of
You'll
us.
hear from me,
Very
don't worry.
long day, especially when I got the email with the 13
Thank
points.
you.
I'll
be in touch.
Hey, you don't even know the folks that have looked at your mail.
Exciting.
It's pretty well covered the state capitol today, this afternoon, I can tell you that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
You guys take care. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, that moves us on to, all right, everybody got their sign back in?
Oh, will be.
Did you remember your passwords, which is the worst part about this godforsaken thing? All right, we're moving on to act on the minutes of the 9th regular meeting, December 18th. Anybody notice any errors, omissions, typos, grammatical issues? Not seeing any, so accept as presented. That moves us on to the report of the board chair. All I'm really going to report out this evening, oh cool, the TV showing up.
We've been going back and forth going like, oh, it's missing. So
Um,
it's helping.
Well, she doesn't want it seen too much. She's afraid somebody's going to take it. The only thing I was going to say is mostly in regards to AC/DC. We have had no new contact, no information since the last meeting. We're basically still where we were at that point. We will need to, if something does eventually come forward, which I suspect it might, we will need legal representation. After discussion with some board members, as well as the superintendent and so forth, I felt the best way to proceed with this was a subcommittee to help us choose legal representation to deal with this particular issue. That's how we deal with most everything on this board, is the first step is done within a subcommittee. So we have put together a subcommittee that will be meeting, I believe, on the 14th at 7:30 at central office. As we all know, subcommittee meetings are open to the public. So that is, so it's 7:30 on the 14th. We will be meeting, are we actually meeting with or just reading
No, we're
presentations?
not meeting with anybody. It's
Okay,
the-
we're gonna get the,
RFPs will be there.
we'll have the presentation, the RFPs that we requested from the potential legal counsel and hopefully come forward with a recommendation for the board on the meeting of the 22nd. So that is the general direction. I think I passed that on earlier in the week. Somebody have any questions on that? Okay, not seeing any. Kyle?
Yeah,
Central
it'll be at
office, yes.
Conference room, yep.
Anybody else? All right. That moves us on to public comment. Do we have any public wishing to comment this evening? Going once, going twice, going three times. All right. Communications. Does the chair have any communications?
Do not.
Oh, currently I do not. Superintendent.
Yes. We have 2 resignations to report. One, Suzanne Lawrence, bus driver, effective January 2nd. And Amy Hoover, special ed Tech 3 at Turner Primary School. The good news is that Amy's not leaving us. We, Rebecca at the last meeting talked about a partnership we have with CDS to put in a pre-K special purpose program here, at Turner Primary School to provide services to students who need them. CDS has staff for that. Amy Hoover is going to work for them. So she's leaving our employment, but she's staying at Turner Primary School and will be working in the special program that CDS will be running. So she's not going anywhere. She's just changing where she's going. We have a retirement, John Lepofsky, industrial arts teacher at the high school at the end of the year. New hires, Lindsay Remington, office support assistant at Turner Primary. Christopher Towers, maintenance worker 2. This one's been open for a while, so that's great. We've started 2 subs, one at the middle school and one at Green Central School.
Anything? Any
That's all I got.
questions on the superintendent's communications? I guess we're good. That takes us to adjustments to agenda, which we do not have any new ones here.
No, I do want to just check Crystal and Alex, and do we think we need executive session for, there's nothing new to talk about for negotiations, right? Because we haven't had another session, so I don't think we need the executive session.
Folks, I would like to say that this will be the first meeting in a long time that we have no executive sessions.
I know, it's crazy, right?
That is simply,
What's that?
Kyle baked it.
well, then, so that means Kyle gets to take home everything if we don't disperse it in
Well, I think we
executive.
just start passing it around now.
Well, Gary, the only thing, so, do we want to get any input from the rest of the board, I mean, we've had our meeting.
When am I gonna
If
get a
you
cookie?
want, if you would like to, I probably shouldn't, if you want to keep it, we keep it. We
Yeah,
have done
let's
that
keep it,
once,
yeah.
we have gotten
I don't
input
know, I
once.
think it'd be good.
Okay, then never mind.
Oh.
There it goes, folks, we have an
Sorry,
executive
I
tonight.
tried.
We tried.
I'll take my report out.
I asked for public comment. Did you want to, we'll go,
I wanted to say something.
absolutely, we'll go right back for you.
So I just learned this week of the passing of one of our former educators, Mr. Richard Lent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I just thought it was really important that maybe you guys can do whatever you
No,
want with that. If you wanna
absolutely.
take a
I did not
moment,
know
but
that.
He was a very long-standing educator in our community. I think it's a big loss.
No, absolutely, and I thank you. I think we will,
I did not know that,
so we'll take it. And I'm actually going to, at this time, can we please have a moment of silence for Mr. Lent? He was,
It was amazing. It was awesome.
thank you so much, because honestly, I did not know. I did not have him, but I knew him. He worked, how long was he in the district? A long time.
I mean, he was here when I started in 1993.
You said 40-something?
40 years, I think.
40?
He'd been here for a while when I got here. And he was here when I came back.
Did he just recently, when did he
Yeah,
retire?
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, when my daughter
And then he passed
graduated,
away.
it was his last step.
Oh. Again, thank you. All right. Is there anything else? Okay.
So there is no adjustment to the agenda, I just want to clarify.
Okay.
Okay.
Committee reports. Ashley, finance.
We did not meet.
Lazy. Huh?
Sorry. I'm not talking, I'm going to stop talking.
Why not? But PTB.
Yes, we met this evening. We had an update from Jim in transportation. He let us know we've lost 2 drivers. One was kind of expected, one was unexpected. They quit abruptly. So that leaves us short. The run right now is being covered by transportation staff. We've looked at possibly having it outsourced, but we haven't heard back in finality as far as that goes. Still short 3 van drivers. He's got a listing going on Indeed to hopefully try to drum up some interest in that area. They have been speaking more about safety training, as Carrie had mentioned last meeting, I think. They moved up a driver safety training a week, so they're having that this Tuesday, I think.
They just
Just had it
Yeah.
Tuesday. And then, as Carrie had mentioned, the schools are doing age-specific, bus safety training. He's looking into adding crossing arms for 4 of our older buses that don't currently have them. So he's got that in the works. Cancellations so far this year have been 23 as opposed to 39 from last year. So in that regard, we have made a big improvement. I spoke to Dave from facilities also. There's been a new need, or kind of a newfound need for cool-down spaces, specifically in this building, for kids who need a spot to calm down if they're having some issue in class. This building is presenting a lot of issues as far as how to provide those spaces. We all know how oddly shaped it is with pod sections. So he's been speaking with Rebecca in special ed to try and determine the specific needs of such spaces, materials and that sort of thing. So that will be an ongoing project. We had a visit with OSHA. There was a complaint levied by an employee about something with one of our dump trucks, which led into a follow-up meeting with some small type stuff that Dave is in the process of taking care of in the maintenance department, the maintenance shop specifically. Nothing major, so he has a list of deficiencies that he's working on, but as you can expect in an old basement-y shop area, there was some things they would like to see done differently, so he's taking care of that. He is implementing some new PPE, personal protective equipment training for his staff. They're going to be undertaking some safety videos to get them up to speed on when to use said equipment. And then we spoke about the option for the land agreement, which we're going to be speaking about later on. And then Gabby let us know about a wrinkle in the wastewater treatment plant. Nothing operational, but Wright Pierce, the architect, has sent us an amendment to their bill to the tune of $49,000 increase due to increased labor costs on their end. So Gabby is going to do some digging on how to maybe get around some of it, or all of it, or none of it. And that will be brought to us once that is figured out.
Was this on the developmental side? This isn't actually putting it in, this is the,
It's the work they've been doing the whole time.
but not the actual physical work, it's the paperwork.
Well, they're the engineers, so they're
Engineers.
not the construction crew. Yeah.
So wasn't they've been modifying it the whole time, so they had to,
They've modified it several times. They would like to modify it again.
but I'm talking, they've been modifying their design or something the whole
Oh,
time?
no, this just has to do with like invoice preparation and review of the items that are going in, determining if they're following codes and laws.
Who's monitoring the construction phase of it. Some of it are fees associated with the person who is our representative, who sort of monitors on a daily basis the work that's happening. His hours have gone over, which makes sense to us. I think the Wright Pierce part, they haven't actually gone over their hours, they're just more expensive hours, and
right.
that's why the
The
fees.
staff that they have doing a lot of the work
Yeah.
are more expensive than what they originally budgeted. There's been turnover in the company, as everybody has had, but there also have just been different staff assigned to our project as they had originally quoted. And there's been increases over the last 4 or 5 years.
So we're gonna do a little bit more work on it and then bring it back.
My answer. All right, thank you very much. Was there anything else? I'm sorry, I kind of could have. I do have a question for the PTB. Did you ask how the subcontracting is going on the plowing? We've had a couple storms.
We didn't this past meeting, but Dave spoke about it, a few weeks ago when we met. He's been very happy with the job that's being done. Specifically, it's allowed his crew to focus. I mean, there's so many buildings in Turner specifically with doors and entryways and walkways that to put two or three guys in trucks to move big snow doesn't let them move the small snow. So he's been able to focus on making sure it's safe getting in and out of the buildings. I think Dave's been happy with it.
Yes.
I don't know how the 18-inch snowstorm goes.
Yeah, we've been happy with
Results.
the results. Yep.
And we're paying per storm, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you, Alex. Policy Committee, Crystal.
Yes, we did not meet this evening. Our next meeting is on the 22nd, and we have, under the consent agenda, the first reading and acknowledgement of GBP, and that was just legal updates.
Thank you. Questions for Crystal? Curriculum Committee, Bree.
Well, later on this meeting, Teresa will be giving a longer report out on curriculum, so I won't say very much. But what we talked about in our meeting tonight, as you know, quick reminder, this year on our curriculum schedule is ELA, English Language Arts, and Science for the teachers across the district to review the standards and align them. ELA has been started the year working more closely with their teammates. So they are ready to maybe present to us by March. And then if we don't send them back with too many changes or adjustments, maybe the plan is hopefully, fingers crossed, we can approve their recommendations for their standards in April. Science meets in February, so at our next meeting in February, we'll be able to hear more about the science update and then come back to you guys with the science update.
Thank you very much. May I have any questions for Bree? Crystal, back to you. Tri-Town teachers.
Yes, we will be having an executive session
Okay,
later.
good. That's good.
But what was it, Tuesday of this week, we just met. And then next Tuesday the 13th, we will meet with the association again in the library around
At
the
the high
tables.
school.
And they're in charge of dinner, and we're not.
Right.
So.
Oh, going back and forth, huh?
Yes.
We're done, we don't need it.
Okay, cool. Okay, anybody have questions for Crystal? All right. Gentlemen, who would like to go first? Student representative report.
Midterms are coming up on the 19th for the first midterm. The remote day students really like, but they're also like the teachers' plans.
Remote day?
Yeah.
Yes.
Indoor track, there are many personal records being broken. The kids are engaging a lot more this year.
Cool.
And the team is working well together. And the girls are looking strong to win the KVACs. And then we're almost to the new second semester. That starts the 26th.
Great.
All right. For theater, the One Acts had their auditions today, and the festival will be in early March. In the last play, Sue's Golden Musical, Mr. Shaw actually made a special appearance as the Grinch. Moving on to some of the classes, the 3D printing classes are creating puzzles that are similar to some of the ones that were used in the show Survivor. They had to create a 3-tiered tower, a snake marble maze, and a ball pyramid that will be tested and printed. They're going to be used again for the Winter Carnival competitions in February. The CAD classes are currently finishing up their Dream Home assignment, and once finalized, they will be printing them in a format that they can fit the pieces together like a puzzle. So, in the shop classes with Ms. Luboski, Students are building catapults, stools, and folding tables. The yearbook staff has recently collected all the senior pictures and is finalizing the senior sections this week. Moving on to JMG, they have had a few more sessions for the VIW pre-apprenticeship program, and they will be erasing the ships that they have built in the last session. Approximately 70 students have had the opportunity to participate in this. And then finally, with Key Club, they are helping out with the district events, helping to support a new chapter at the St. Dom's School in Lewiston. They're also putting together early childhood injury prevention kits that will go to the area hospitals in the community. That's all.
Thank you, Rancho. That takes us to administrators. Principal Parker, you're up.
Good evening. Just a couple of really nice things to share with you. December 11th, which ended up being a snow day, was our first band concert of the year. We had our beginner band and the advanced or the intermediate band together, and our new conductor, Beth Goodliff, really structured this concert in a very creative way. Rather than have one group and the next group, she had everybody there, and everybody sort of played the appropriate parts for them, including some solos, some holiday songs, things like that. It was very, very well attended, and it was really powerful to see some of the kids bravely, even like tagging in solos. She's like, "Okay, you're going to be soloing," and we had a couple like, "Wait, what now?" Yeah, so it was really it was a wonderful event. And then the other, I just wanted to share the academic highlight that I saw. I happened into an art room the other day, and I was sort of looking, and there was a variety of different creative things going on, and a lot of team planning. And I was trying to sort of figure out what was going on, so obviously when I look perplexed, it's pretty easy to read. So the art teacher came over, and she shared a book with me called The Gift of Words. And so the planning, the idea was, the art teacher was collaborating with our school counselor, and kids are really trying to figure out ways to build positive culture, whether it's in the hallways or in the classrooms. So what they were looking for is collaborating for different types of art projects to provide creatively displayed positive messages to the students throughout the school. And it may be anything from a large poster to small takeaways, things like that. But the kids were incredibly well focused on and really listening to one another and collaborating in a really neat way. So I'm glad to see how that's going. So, did anybody have any specific questions on the board report that I submitted?
Ashley?
A couple of questions on the major incidents.
Yep.
Of the 38 major incidents, how many of those would you say are repeat with students? Because it says 88% of students have received 0 to 1 referral, and then 77 have received no referral. So I'm trying to understand how those numbers are.
So one of the pieces that I can tell you, I did kind of looked at different, added a different way. And like, for example, you'll see in November, there was a pretty stark increase. And then it was a decrease for this December, but compared to the December before, it was still higher. So I kind of did a little bit of a drill down. And so, for example, in December, we had 38, 39, I think it ended up being 39. But that was 26 students. So when we kind of looked at it, that's 8% of the student body. So that had an IRF that month. So 92% of the kids in December had no incident referral form, and which means only 8% of the kids in the school for that month had an IRF. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, when you say it like that, I mean.
Okay. Yeah, it's
88% of the 77 doesn't. I'm not getting how those are working together, but.
so 77.4% have received no incident referrals this year. And then, but 88.85% of the kids have gotten either none or one. So that combination.
So it's the 77 plus a smaller group that's had
To
just one
create a
then.
grand total of the 80, almost 89%. And when I dug down the information I just shared with you, that is only December 1st through December 19th. So it's another interesting way to look at what the predictability is. So in other words, it's probably less like whack-a-mole, and it wouldn't be, let's say, if there are 68 referrals, it wouldn't be 68 kids. It in fact is about 8% of our student body in that case, which means if you look at November, December, between 91 and 92% of our students had no incident referral forms at all. So we're able to kind of focus our energy around the smaller percentage and kind of give them more what they need, because again, going from year to year, sometimes month to month, it's not the exact same cohort.
And you may have already said it and I missed it, so none of those students are receiving, so like in the month of December, there's not one student or a few students receiving like 3 or 4 incident referrals.
There might be.
There might be.
But they would be within that, say like 8%. But yeah, I can't get too specific, because I think after a little bit, it would be easier to figure out. So in other words, I can't say X number of kids got 10, X number of kids got 4, X number of kids got, although the 1 is an okay way to do, because there were quite a few. So it was sort of a one and done. Does that help? Okay.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Our host for the evening.
So I was going to highlight as well our concerts. Ours, we generally, or in the past, we've done them at the high school, but there was a glitch with the play. And so we ended up having it here. We ended up doing 2 different nights for the concert and for the band concert and then the chorus concert. But other than that, I would say they were awesome. The band was on the 8th and they sounded strong. The kids were loud, but they sound, you could understand what they were playing, and they did a really nice job. And then on the 9th, we had our chorus concert, and I've never, I haven't seen kids have such a great melody at that age, so that was really neat. They were doing some high-level work for music, which I can't do, but it was really neat seeing that. And at the end, there was like a sing-along, and the parents participated, so that was really neat. On the 18th, our drama club, which is our 5th and 6th graders, had their first production of the year. They did Elf. And the reason that's such a big deal is because every other year we've had 1 drama production a year, so they've already amped that up. They picked what play they're going to be doing next, which is The Little Rascals, I think, so that's pretty exciting. And they did a great job. And then just to highlight with the 3rd grade classroom that I was in, we have had some shifts with our 3rd grade classes, and I've just been kind of checking out how kids are doing. It's been really neat. Today I went into one of the teachers' classrooms, and I was walking around because I feel like when kids are working in groups, you usually catch 1 or 2 groups that are off task a little bit, or like they'll ask a question about the weekend or about their basketball game or something else. And I went over to one of the groups, and the student there was like, okay, we're going to be voting on, and they were like doing a research project and deciding within that research project what of these like options were the best, and it was based on like what other people were saying. And one of the little girls was like, you have to decide what option you like the best, not on the person, but what you think is the best option. And it was just really cute. Well, I should say that, but they did such a good job navigating and working together and having some like team building skills, while also working on their ELA stuff. And I went to every single table, and all of them were engaged, and that was just awesome. They were just 100% into what they were learning, so it was really neat. And then just along with the 3rd grade classrooms, they've also been doing some work integrating with our technology teacher, and the kids have created these interactive, they've done interactive slideshows, so they'll record themselves, and then they can hit the button, and then it has them like presenting their slideshow. And then they've also done it with like trifolds, which has been really neat, just kind of seeing what our, like 8-year-olds can produce, which is really cool. And then as far as PBIS data, right when we came back, we had our PBIS district meeting. It was nice for us to be able to look through and dig through our data and then have pieces that we really want to make sure that we take back to staff. One thing that we tend to look at as a PBIS team is where are those common occurrences, and we'd expect to see the classroom, like when you think about minor behaviors and then major, well, just, I would say like in general behaviors would be in the classroom, that's where they spend the good majority of their time. But then making sure that it looks consistent, that the data that we're putting in is accurate, we're not forgetting to put some things in, that sort of thing. And then also looking at a comparison from last year's major IRS to this year's major IRS, which is our incident referrals. And that's been going down, which is nice to see.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you so much. Principal Shaw.
Hey, everybody. First off, I'm just going to thank my student representatives. They covered a number of things that I was going to, so I will reduce my list a little bit. We had, I'm just going to go back. I am going to say something about the musical. You've heard me say something about it before, but I haven't spoken with you since the performance. Our students, along with a few students from the middle school, put on an amazing performance of Seussical, and to get to see them in kind of their, like, in the wild, it was outstanding, and they did a great job. And the crowd was great for both shows. So I'll just say that. Our 10th graders today, the entire sophomore class, went to Central Maine Community College for their college and career fair, the annual college and career fair for 10th graders. Unlike the one that JMG puts on at the high school, it's not like the mall. They don't go around and check them all out. They get to sign up for ones that they were most interested in, and so it was much more directed around what the topics were. And students, there's always like some, do we have to go when they get on the initial outset, but it's always positive feedback when they come back. So that was today. It went off well, and I think it's important to acknowledge the time and effort it takes for our guidance director, Mrs. Poulin, to pull that all together, along with all of her colleagues in the area schools to coordinate with Central Maine Community College. So that was great. We are, as Lucas William pointed out, we are gearing up for midterms. We've got a couple of weeks before that, and it's going to be in full swing here, particularly next week. We'll start with a lot of review and getting ready for that. And as I also mentioned in my notes, just prior to break on Wednesday the 17th, during our staff meeting, we spent about 45 minutes or not quite an hour with a representative from the DOE discussing AI and supports that the DOE can provide for us, and some utilization that we might be able to access through some different AI, I don't know what to call them, but different platforms, I guess. Resources. And it's a very cursory look. Our intention was to meet with her once before, I guess, no doubt, and then meet with her again to kind of follow up. So we did the initial one prior to break, and it was a very big overarching discussion around what it is, some ethical uses, how potentially to utilize it. And it created a lot of chatter around my building with faculty and staff, particularly for the Thursday and Friday before break. It was a hot button issue. It was a hot button issue again this morning at my network leaders meeting. So we are going to be discussing it in more detail at a faculty meeting next week, so that prior to the DOE rep coming back for her second visit, I will be able to give her some very direct, like, this is what we're looking for. And get so we can get the information we need to have to make informed decisions. And actually, I don't think you got a straight answer to your question that you asked, so I'm going to give you a straight answer. Dan, yes, absolutely. Will public schools be able to adapt to things that are coming up? You're darn right we will. And if I didn't believe that, I shouldn't be standing here. And the public educators, the the professional educators in this district, given the time and the opportunity, can adapt to whatever comes out of it. I absolutely believe that. And the conversation that we really have with the DOE will help to give us some of that background that we need so we can make those decisions that we need to make.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions for him? Ashley?
What were some of the concerns staff have regarding AI for the
The questions that we have, the conversation was much more around how staff could potentially utilize it. Didn't get into a lot of conversation, really any conversation about how it might look to have students access it. So there's a lot of questions about what that might look like. And we haven't had the big whole staff conversation, so I don't want to put words into people's mouths. But in the conversations that I've had, a lot of questions around the ethical uses of it, because she only spent one slide talking about it because it was just kind of our first go over. So I will definitely be talking to her about spending more time talking about that, and just general sense of when it's most appropriate. This gets to the ethical uses of it. When it's most appropriate to use it and when it's not. I'm going to give you an example. So in the conversation, she was talking about having done a presentation with a group of administrators, and the administrators left, and then she got feedback from somebody that worked with the administrator because they had gotten an email from the administrator that had clearly been written utilizing AI. And her feedback was, that's really not what the tone of the conversation was about, but then went on to talk about how we could potentially use it to write letters of recommendation. And that was people were like, that seems like what you just said we shouldn't be using it for. So I need to get some clarity on that. But I would say that the two biggest things were, okay, so what does this look like for us to either utilize in a planning fashion, or in the classroom, and then the ethical uses were probably the three big ones.
I happened to be at almost the whole session, so it was great for me to be able to talk with Eben after. And I just think, from my perspective, I think it was the questions that teachers were asking sort of speaks to the seriousness with which they're engaged in this shift that's coming, the healthy skepticism, but also healthy curiosity, right? All the things I think that we would hope that they would do with this tsunami that's coming at them was what they were doing, right? They were not sort of buying all in, but they weren't also saying we got to ignore this all. It was everything you would hope, I think, with a group of staff sort of asking all the right questions.
I think it did. I wasn't sure exactly how deep she was going to get into any one thing in her first presentation, but I think it did exactly what it needed to do in terms of get people talking about it. And next week, what we'll end up doing at our faculty meeting is doing breakout groups to have some conversations in small groups, and then coming back as a big group to kind of finalize what it is we want to ask her as a group.
Is there any way that we could actually possibly at some point get educated a little bit on our end, just so we can be better or more informed?
Yeah.
I think
They have a lot of stuff available, so we could sort of put together, pick and choose some things. It's a little overwhelming, but.
Are you suggesting a dual presentation with the two of us?
Oh. Careful what you wish for.
Well, I just, I know,
yeah, no,
the
you wouldn't even know where to start. No, I mean, I was glad to be there because it was, I've done a couple of sort of, the University of Maine did some a series of lunchtime Zoom AI sort of, PD that you could do, and I signed up for a bunch of them. And then Teresa actually talked to the DOE representative. We've all looked at some of the materials, so it was good to sort of see what it looks like in front of teachers. So I think we probably have a certain amount of information that'd be useful. Yes, we can work on that.
Anthony?
this may be very early for this, but how confident are you that you'll be able to fill Mr. Lepovsky's position?
I am very confident.
Excellent.
I've been working on that for a year.
Yeah. Evan's got a master plan. It's genius. If it works, it's genius. Just saying.
Are you feeling the pressure?
If it works.
That's no pressure, it's gonna work.
There you go. You get confidence, man. Crystal?
Just under the suspensions, and talking about vapes, do we need stronger sensors or something? Or is this like, people are like, we were talking previously about having
We
to,
have a societal problem with vapes.
Yeah.
fair.
I could have
100%.
1,000 detectors, it's not gonna fix that.
It's not, okay.
Just go off all
So
the time.
this is just like earlier intervention in like
I-
6th grade, like what? what do we-
Laundry list of potential things, it's a broad issue with, around access to and young people being addicted to vapes and vape products.
Okay, thank you.
That's
No,
the plain
I
answer.
wasn't sure though, if it was like we needed more or it's just way beyond
I mean, we
that.
do need some more, there's a couple of spots we do need some, but that's not the fundamental issue.
Fair enough.
I'm just going to, Kyle brought up a good point. Thank you, Evan. Thank you so much. This is more towards Teresa and Carrie, or Carrie. We had some preliminary talks, maybe a year ago or so, regarding how the school district should move forward with, as we started putting our toes into AI, regarding guidelines and policies. I'm trying to remember, did those come into play?
We did create, Teresa led that, create guidelines with Wally for staff, and you wanted.
And one of our instructional coaches.
Right.
So that was a video undertaking that principals then shared out. We have had some beginning conversations. We've talked about it in terms of policy, and we're looking at what other districts are doing, and Carrie and Wally and I have met to have some conversations. We don't have anything right now. Gemini is turned on in Google for teachers to use. There's no expectation that students are using AI. It's not.
But we didn't want to turn it on for staff until we had done the guidelines. So
Yep.
all the staff received the guidelines, and then we were allowed that access for staff. And part of what Evan and Jan in the middle school was doing, because that's really where the bulk of the work is going to happen with kids experimenting, is to sort of start to do that training with staff, with people who have expertise.
So this falls under one of those, piggybacking on a little bit what Kyle was talking about. I think it'd probably be good for the board to see what we're directing our staff to be doing. So I think we need to have a presentation, especially if we're clearly having some significant discussions with the Department of Education and so forth on AI and so forth, that, it's something that we're all slightly nervous about, slightly excited about, but I think we need to probably review those guidelines a little bit as well as a board, since it's something very important that a lot of our community has concerns about as well. And eventually, like everything, it should end up in policy, so I assume, because I remember that was, now that you mentioned it, it was discussion because we wanted to get more information from.
Well, and I think the concern at the time was if we put it in policy, it's moving so fast, there's so much
Yeah.
change. We want to remain nimble in shifting the guidelines for teachers and what those rules will be. If we put it into policy, then the process of shifting that is very slow. So I think that's been the concern for us.
No, and absolutely. And
Yeah.
most everything I see in AI is basically something that's just going to make teaching a more, easier, less time, something, it's, so I just.
Ironically, I don't know if it makes it easier because there's so many choices. So
Well,
you have
no,
to
so
sit
that's-
through, like when I was watching, it's just more resources to sort through and figure out what is the best thing to do and what's going to bring the most learning, But
anyways, it's just something I think that we need to.
Yeah.
Especially if the district is really starting to do a lot of these meetings, I think the board ought to at least be involved in some of the discussion on
We've
what's
done one, just so you know, like
No, I
there's been
understand.
one training,
Yeah.
just, yeah, that's all.
But just moving forward.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you, Evan and Teresa.
So I'll keep this portion focused on professional development as I am doing a curriculum update in a little bit. We have professional development plans for January and March that are underway. January is expected. March, I like to be ahead of the game. Both of them are going to be focused on math for teachers of math. In January, our teachers in grades 3 through 8, plus our pilot second grade teacher, are going to work with a trainer in person from Imagine Learning, which is the vendor that publishes illustrative math. And then we'll work in small facilitated groups with the instructional coaches leading that work. And then in March, our teachers, because you may recall that this is a 3 to 8 program implementation this year. Next year, K to 2 starts. So in March, we're going to begin working with the teachers so they can understand the concept of the program as well as some of the mathematical practices. We did the same thing with this implementation for 3 through 8 last winter and spring. In February, our instructional coaches, grade level leaders, and a few teachers are going to join our interreading consultant who will be back on site. We could not coordinate a schedule for a full workshop day, but I think this is going to follow a model that we've started using of building capacity so that a small group of teachers can work directly with a consultant, and then they can replicate that, almost like a train the trainer model, so they can replicate that when working with staff. And that's all I have for my report.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for? Thank you very much. We'll have questions shortly.
Okay.
At your next presentation.
Yes.
Carrie.
Mine's short because between the last meeting and today, there was 2 weeks of vacation, so it hasn't been a lot going on. And Alex has already said Transportation Safety Month, so I won't say any more about that. Met with those guys Tuesday night, negotiations prep, 2.5 hours. Wednesday, we had our first remote day. I had regular meetings with Gabby, Rebecca, Teresa, Evan, and Jana today. And just a little nugget of information. Every district has to have a foster care point of contact. I am that person. So I did some training today to make sure that I know what the law is and I know what the proper support we need to provide foster care students who are in our district, and making sure staff do what they need to do. So just, an hour of my day today. Thought I'd share.
Well, thank you.
That's all I got.
I have to note that we did have another storm on a Wednesday.
Yep. Handled it much better this time, just saying. I was ready.
Very smooth.
Anthony.
So we got our report about the fall book purchases for the libraries, and thank you for sending that. I do have some concerns that perhaps the way that the policy is being applied is not seeing the forest for the trees. So I took the high school list, and this is how I used AI recently. So I fed it into a few different AI engines, and I asked it to evaluate these books, as particularly how they addressed certain criteria, like criteria G, to present a balance of opposing sides to controversial issues, and presenting, I think, J, high quality scholarship and literature. And the replies were pretty consistent, that overall the selection of new materials presented a skewed left socially and politically set of books. That there were ones that might be considered traditional or conservative, but those were relegated to things like sports, like hunting manuals, things like that. And the acquisitions did not address some of the shortcomings that have been identified over the past couple of years with particular topics. So I'm very concerned that we have a well thought out policy that we all spent a lot of time talking about, but that it is still not really yielding the kind of collection that our students deserve. And so I just bring that forward.
Well, it is something, it is a concern that I've had, is the overall, if our selection available is, and I've always considered that we probably should need to maybe, it is a concern I have as well. So, something we'll definitely keep looking at. I don't know where we can really adjust the policy much more to address it. I think it's just something that we need to, we'll just need to, I don't know, maybe it's an option in the future for AI. This is the policy, this is the list going in. Maybe it's something we look at when we purchase stuff like this, So, it's definitely a thought. So, yes.
So if I could reply to that. So part of the policy is before selecting and recommending materials for purchase, professional staff should evaluate the existing collection, consult with staff, and so on. And I think maybe, and I don't know because we're not talking to the people directly involved with that, but that might be one of the stumbling blocks. Where if that's not being done very intentionally to make course corrections, it would be easy to just look at a bunch of titles. These look good. Do they individually meet the criteria? Yeah. But you have to look at these very, very large samples in order to see those big trend patterns, to see the forest. You can't look at a tree and see a forest. You have to look at thousands of trees. So maybe we can have a session that's maybe directly devoted to how this policy is being understood and applied so that we can then have the confidence that going forward, things are going to be consistent with what we intend.
Okay. Let me look, probably not a full session, but we can potentially have a presentation at some point.
That's what I meant.
So let me look into it a little bit more and see what we think we can move forward with. All right, thank you. Anthony, does anybody else have anything? Yes.
Danny, for the library, at least at the high school,
Mhm.
there's a new librarians that might have something to do with it as they are new to the school district. Actually, they were at a previous school, but they just moved up to the high school.
No, absolutely. Thank you. All right. That moves us on to the consent agenda. All right? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, consent agenda. It's only one item, so. We've talked about it previously. Does anybody wish to take this item out of the consent agenda? Not seeing any. Items of the consent collectively unless a board member asks that a specific item be acted upon individually. 9.1, first reading and acknowledgement of policy committee's recommendation of policy GBP, earned paid leave, and GPB-R, earned paid leave administrative procedure. My understanding this is all a bunch of dealing with current law changes. Do we have a motion? Anthony, do we have a second? Kyle? All those in favor? All those opposed? I believe it is unanimous. Is that correct? Is that unanimous? Yeah. All right, that takes us to Superintendent Teresa.
Oh, me?
Not
Sorry.
the superintendent. The
Oh,
assistant
sorry,
superintendent.
assistant.
I
The
was like,
assistant.
oh my God, I
I
don't
was
think
gonna
I'm
wait
doing
and see if
this.
you said anything.
I was
Go ahead,
gonna
you
keep
can take
my
it.
mouth shut.
Are you not going to do it for her?
Nope.
Okay. So, as you might notice, we do not have a television here that is hooked up, so you can follow along in the board
Sorry,
packet.
audience.
And for the audience, I'll do my best.
It was a request they had early on, so I'm sure it was something we will work on and make sure our hosts know in the
Yeah.
future.
It's the first time it's happened, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. Okay. So, tonight I'm going to provide you with a curriculum update on the work that is going on in our district that I have been leading. I wanted to begin with a strategic plan on page 11, there is one of our goals around curriculum, and I'll read it for those of you in the audience. Every MSAD52 student will participate in a rigorous education program that provides a variety of curricular and extracurricular offerings that match students' interests and needs, and specifically, Objective 1, that we will have a well-articulated and aligned pre-K to 12 vertically, no, I didn't read that right, let me start again. We will have a well-articulated and aligned pre-K to 12 vertically aligned, I did read it correctly.
Yeah.
Curriculum based on the state standards, the main learning results, and we'll also have an assessment system, but that's work we're doing along with it. So our curriculum development process really starts with the standards, and I get committees together. There's an all call for teachers, so it's really open to anyone who teaches that content area. We work together to select the essential standards, the performance indicators, we write learning targets and develop assessments. We utilize Atlas, which you probably have not heard much about this year, to capture this work, and then we present to the curriculum committee and then to the full school board for approval. So I want to remind everyone what was accomplished last year. Mathematics, visual and performing arts, and health and PE, we completed and you approved 3 content area curriculums, while we also had year 1 of implementation of new instructional materials for reading, and the grade levels are listed there. This year, if you go to the next slide, which I will do too. This is what we have been doing so far. So in July, I had 2 awesome days working together with teachers and instructional coaches. Those were stipended days that the budget that you all and the taxpayers approved. So then we had a pause in the fall, and we are back working. We started in December, so the date's there. We also will be, I feel like we had another date that I missed. Okay, anyway, we've been working on it again. I wanted to list the committee members because this came up, Jenny, at our meeting tonight, like, is every school, every grade level? So because this is a call that goes out to everyone, I work with a principal to make sure that we have the representatives that we need. And so you can see here 5 of our 6 schools are represented, and we have instructional coaches, classroom teachers, we have a special ed teacher. So that really that addresses, Becca Burke was kindergarten, she's now a special ed teacher. So we really, when we started the work, we had kindergarten through high school represented across our 5 of our schools.
And Teresa?
Yes.
I just out of curiosity, why don't we did nobody from Green want to participate? Seems like part of the whole point behind this, a lot of these, was to make sure we have all the schools working together, moving forward. It seems like we're really missing something if a whole school isn't represented.
Right, so what we also have the opportunity to do, I'm glad you asked that question, is when we have workshop days where we will get together, the grade level leaders and the leaders who are working on this present it to all the teachers, and they have a chance to give input. So everybody has a chance to give input. This is a committee of volunteers, and you're right, we don't have representatives from every school. But one school, we didn't have anybody that volunteered. And I would have probably pulled in the instructional coach, but it's a new person this year, and she is in training. So she's already out of her school a lot, so that's probably the reason why. But you're right, and I do need the principals who then ask their teachers. Like, it's not just one email, there's reminders and send out, but that's
not ideal, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
The next content area we will, I forgot to talk about the target date. Bree, you did mention, I'm hoping that we will have a completed and approved curriculum by April of 2026. We are meeting again tomorrow. We will meet through February. I hope to bring something to the curriculum committee in March, and then that's my targeted date, is April. For science, that is the other content area we are starting. Our targeted completion date for this work is May 2026. That's really a guess because we haven't started the work yet, so I don't have a strong idea of the scope of the work. We are starting at the end of January, and our committee members, you'll notice this time we just have 4 schools represented. Again, that is a concern I do have. I talked with Principal Bartash, and because her school is small and because of the number of initiatives they have going on, we are not going to pursue getting someone else on this committee because it would be a redundancy in terms of pulling teachers out of the classroom too much. So we have that balance. And again, there were no teachers that volunteered from Green. That is something that Principal Parker and I spoke at length about, and it's not ideal, but it is what it is.
Keep working on it.
We're going to keep working on it. So, but again, here Heidi Plant is a kindergarten teacher, all the way through high school teachers, and we do have 2 high school teachers on, including the content lead, the network leader, and then the instructional coach. The instructional coaches are really helpful because the understanding they have of standards, so they are always on these committees in some capacity. And then also this year, we are in the process, we are in year 2 of implementing the into-reading materials for grades K through 6, and we are in year 1 of implementing illustrative math in grades 3 through 8. I will acknowledge the fact that we have some 3rd and 4th grade teachers across the district that are doing both, and that is extremely heavy lift. I don't know, I'm at a loss for words for what it is. So we did acknowledge that when we chose the grade levels, people were aware of that, principals and staff it was communicated. I will say it's going well. I really missed being as involved in the beginning of illustrative math, and so I'm excited to be back at it. And the public-facing platform in Atlas. Over the summer, I worked on this, and I'm making final adjustments now, and I'm back to publishing some of the approved content area courses. So they'll show up for us as courses, and I would anticipate I'll give a little tutorial when it's all ready. But it's just waiting for me to finish publishing the remaining courses that we have approved. And so to start, the 3 content areas that have been approved by the board will appear. The courses that we're still working on will not until they're approved. And we can keep adding to that. And I guess I will just conclude by saying I really love this work. It's very hard. We have some amazing teachers in our district who have volunteered to do this work. Some of our conversations are very difficult, and it's just really fun to work with teachers in this capacity. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Any other questions for Teresa? I'm not seeing any, so I guess we're good. Takes us on to 11.2, to consider and approve authorization superintendent of schools to execute and deliver an option agreement granting the district an option for the term set forth in said option agreement to purchase approximately 18.8 acres of land on northerly side of Cobb Road in the town of Turner. Said option agreement to be substantially, is that correct? In the form presented to this meeting with such changes as the superintendent in consultation, with legal counsel deems in the interest of the district to
effectuate.
Thank you. Effectuate the carrying of said option.
That is not a word said frequently.
That's a new one to me, yes, actually.
That's the legally required.
Thank you. Do we have a second from Crystal? All right. We all have it in this, Joe. We all have it in our magic little box here. is this thing in our box, that's not confidential, is it? The names and all that stuff, or is yes?
No, it's not. No,
Okay,
it's
so we're at
public.
this, yeah, I just was, I
Yeah,
want to make sure.
We
Okay.
are, you are authorizing to sign an option to purchase the land that sits across from Turner Primary School and Jimmy's. It's a beautiful field, and I think we will sort of, through the budget process, determine sort of what's the best way to purchase this land, but the option gives us first refusal, like the land is being held for us while we determine how we can pay for it, and then any purchase by the district has to be approved by voters, so also determining when that will go to voters. So, but it's a great piece of land, and I think it's pretty exciting. And you said it was not a well-kept secret, but I will tell you, most people in the, like, I had principals and people reaching out going, what is this? What are you doing?
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who did not know when it
There's a
showed
lot
up
of
on the
people,
agenda.
there's a lot of people who did know.
I know, I'm just saying, I'm just saying.
There's a lot of people, well, apparently I might be around people who talk a lot.
Yeah.
We're a gossipy group, what can we say?
There's a lot of people who didn't know.
Or is it you, Peter?
It was not me, actually, it was not me. When I first heard it, I had questions about somebody to my right, but then I was told it was, anyways. So we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any other questions? Concerns? Thoughts? Oh, Anthony?
I'll just point out that anybody who's been watching, listening to the PTV reports for the past several years knows that there are some serious issues that can't really be resolved easily with the footprint that we currently occupy. So it's a purchase, we're aware that it costs money, but it is a purchase that is ideally situated. I don't think there are many other parcels of land that are as convenient as this one is to all of our needs. And it will allow us to address those very serious issues.
All right. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, unanimous. And for just a smidgen of, Evan probably knows this one, but history that means nothing, that's the old corn plant. Is where that is this piece of property. That's what that cement pad is. I can't remember, if I remember the building, I won't say what I do. It was there, yeah. All right, that takes us to our last thing of the evening.
Second to last.
Second to last, yes, that's right, because Alex really wants us to stay around.
You won't live that down.
These fine pieces of technology that are listening to us and making decisions for us in front of us. I'm going to be looking for a motion to either continue with them for the year or to go back to the logging industry. So,
Peter.
I'm looking for a motion.
Peter,
I'm looking for a motion.
I make a
We have a motion from Bree, which I assume is to go with the paper industry?
to continue
Oh.
forward with.
She wants to use the
using
idiot
laptops
boxes.
And saving money and saving our trees.
No more color printing.
Crystal? Oh.
Sorry.
And our bags for carrying in.
This thing is heavy. I know I have a second from Crystal. I heard her over there. All right, any discussion on these fine, yes?
The only thing I would ask out of, like, this is fine, it would be just having the agenda printed off so we can actually, instead of keep flipping back and forth, being the screen too small. Unless you want to get other monitors to go with it.
It took a few minutes. I figured out how to do that earlier. Plus, what I do, print the agenda at home.
I could, but
In color.
Darn right.
it's not always convenient.
I really like to check things off, and this is hard to get.
That's not very satisfying, is it?
No.
Oh, we're not supposed to write on the screen?
Some of us have touched.
Yeah, he's gonna touch screen.
What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. He raised.
I know,
I'm
I
not
see
giving
Alex.
away.
What,
How does this apply to the budget book?
the budget books are gonna be fine on them? Is that correct, Gabby?
yes, everything absolutely can be given to you digitally, no problem, if that's what you decide you want, yeah.
Ashley?
I was fine voting for this until I just heard that. The budget books are gonna be on here?
I can do it both ways.
Ooh, we want one or the other.
So right now, the motion says meeting minute materials, so maybe we bring up that conversation when we get closer to budget.
Because we were going to go, part of the big issue was the whole, that this could be an update on the budget books and everything, but yeah.
I don't think Bree read that as the motion, though. Did she? Didn't you make up your own motion?
I mean.
She just,
Peter
her motion,
kind of made up my motion, don't you think?
her motion was to continue using the laptops. When we originally brought the laptops forward, we said that under direction from central office, it was decided that we were either going with laptops or we're going paper, because the dealing with both options was going to become a nightmare. So that was so in my mind, that meant moving forward, whether it be negotiations, whether it be the budget, and the whole idea of us being able to take them home was the idea that we could then use them at home to look at our budget books, was how it was, how it was kind of explained to me moving forward. Ashley?
For the budget, at least for how I use the book, I find it really helpful to have, I know it's a lot of paper, but to look through those pages, and there's a lot of small line items, and when we're getting new copies at every meeting, to be able to flip back to the prior color and see where the changes are and what the notes were. That's going to be really hard on just a PDF versus like a software designed to do that, an accounting software.
No,
This
I can
is
see
just,
your.
and it's also in a landscape form, which is going to be a little bit harder to read because we're going to have to zoom in and then you're going to have to shift your paper over to see where the numbers are and the columns are. And, for me, that sounds like a headache for the budget specifically, but everything else I'm fine.
Well, if you take the budget out of the mix, which really not a ton, it's some paper, but the budget is the big paper and ink saver.
This is a decent amount of paper, though, these meetings.
Any other, right now, the motion is to use these. I guess we haven't emphasized, and we can always come back and say if we want the budget books. But should we think about that right now? Because the budget's coming right up. What are we looking at, a month?
I need to know, I actually am not sure I know what the motion
The
is now.
motion
Because I
is-
have this one written, but.
Well, the motion was you wanted to continue using computers.
Yes, I'm happy with the motion that's here. I don't necessarily know if we want to amend it to specifically say that budget is not necessarily just meeting materials, because I'm looking at the long run of things, not just getting us through this year. I'd like to see this continuing for future meetings next year too. So I don't have a problem amending it to say, except for budget books, but just knowing like our regular general sessions, regular meetings like tonight, super helpful to just have this, but I don't have a problem amending saying budget books could still be in paper. I also think, though, as Abby has said, anything that is printed for us is a digital copy to begin with, and hearing concerns that people have brought forth to you, we can make sure that there could be ways to present the updates that we get for those budget slides to be done in a way that would be helpful. So like, for example.
I know, it's like, how?
When you're, giving us the updated pages that you would normally print, is there a way that we can get that into like, I don't know, a separate folder that would be into a Google Drive that is just for budgets? And then would that be, here's your updates for these warrant articles?
Oh, yeah, that absolutely would
So
happen.
that-
I thought you wanted me to highlight every line, and I was like, that's.
Can we get them all color coded? No. But as we're hearing, being able to look back at like an original line versus the adjusted line a couple weeks later, I think that we can take those comments and feedback and make the adjustments still digitally and have that be, whether that's a different folder in the same Google Drive, to be able to click back and forth.
So to your point, yes, the way that we set it up on our website is I put all the initial budget documents up, labeled by warrant. And, if it's a revenue document, whatever that is all labeled there. And then each week, if there's any changes, which inevitably there are, there's a whole new folder with that date.
Yeah.
And any changes are in that, you know, the entire warrant. So
Right.
that would remain the same.
Or
I would
different
envision.
tabs on a spreadsheet, so we see 1 week and then the next week, and it could be all the same document.
It won't be spreadsheets
Yeah.
that you get.
Yeah.
They will be PDFs.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I can't tab on
Yeah, yeah.
PDFs, but it's.
Ashley?
So that's really, I guess, you know, what we said, that is my exact concern, is having multiple PDFs of that size, because when it's in a PDF, we're not able to like lock the header and see what the columns are as the numbers are moving. So you're literally going between two pretty large files that may not fit to scale on your screen and trying to flip through each page in two separate files, page by page, line by line. I just don't see that as being, at least not time efficient. I definitely don't want to do that, not with this tiny, I mean, if we had 2 screens, that's just not what this is set up for.
Anybody else? Alex?
I would agree. I think the amount of flipping back and forth and manipulating the physical pages that you do in the budget book will be difficult on the screen. It's only 12 inches.
So right now, the motion has an amendment, because you amended taking out
I haven't
budget.
officially amended it, so
Okay.
if anyone else wants to, they can. I'm just.
Well, you have to, it's your motion, so you have to make the amendment. No, you don't. You can change the motion, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
she can
sorry.
change the
You can
motion,
change the
otherwise we
motion.
have to vote on the amendment.
Yes. So are you changing the motion, no?
I don't want to,
Okay.
but someone else wants to.
Is there an amendment
Sorry,
to
Kurt.
add?
You have to, yeah.
Ashley will make an amendment to not include the budget books into our computer group.
Just say exclude
Exclude
budget.
budget books. Kyle seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? I actually didn't think it'd be this long. All those in favor of the amendment to exclude the budget books from any computer, whatever. It is everybody but Jen?
No, I voted.
Okay, everybody but, great. All those opposed? Great. All right.
Amended motion.
Yes.
Apparently it's gonna be hard to print those budget books.
Is there something you'd like to add?
I'm good. Either way, I'm good.
All right, so any other discussion on the motion?
I just throw out, I feel a little handicapped using this book. And it's probably because I'm used to using a mouse and multiple screens and other things. I'm constantly using electronic files, but I feel very challenged with this little touchpad. And,
Attach a mouse with a
well, I
USB.
was just hoping like, could we, is there a way for us to use our own devices, or is that just too much of a security hurdle?
It was a real concern
I will
about,
talk to Wally again, but yeah, there was that.
we had a concern about security, the ability for you to go other area, there's just, we had concerns if we started everybody bringing in their own
They don't
units.
even
I'll
trust us
ask the
and
question.
the school board.
So. Anybody else?
Bring your mouse.
Anthony?
The trackpad tracks the wrong way. I can't stand it.
Wally said you can
It is
reverse it.
the opposite of my other, of my computers, and so it's really
Wow.
disorienting,
It is-
and I can't fix it.
What do you mean it's backwards? Left is left, right is right.
No, if you,
Talks about scrolling up
if
and
you use
down.
2 fingers to scroll up and down, it goes the wrong way.
I think Wally said you can change that.
Down is up, up is
We
down.
can provide some tech support if we want.
But I agree.
I use the little buttons.
Resources. and
Mine too.
All right, any other, clearly we have some concerns.
Let's get this over across the table. I'm a teenager.
You know, it's almost like students.
I bet the kids could fix your trackpad. You guys know how to
Oh,
fix your
shoot, what did I
trackpad?
just do?
That's right. That's right, Peter. Did you click on a link that you?
I don't know, something happened.
Screen all of a sudden.
Okay, there we go, we're better now. Like, as with Joe, mine at home, I could probably know what to do when I saw that, but right now it doesn't. All right,
It's just more of a comment.
I
think
know.
we should just keep going this way.
all right, we clearly want so all those, any other discussion? Clearly we have trackpad problems, we have size issues, but All those in favor of moving forward with the computers?
You guys already did that. You did that, Peter.
No, we've not.
No, that was the amendment.
That was
We
the
voted on the
amendment.
amendment.
That was on the amendment.
You voted on the amendment
Now we're voting on the amended motion.
This is the okay, for clarification, this is the amended motion that we will have computers for all of our stuff except for the budget books.
Yes.
That is the motion on the table. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Everything except for the budget.
Except for the budget book.
Everything but the budget books.
Right.
Right.
Our budget books will be here in front of us.
Paper.
Yes,
Paper.
okay.
Yes. Okay.
All those opposed?
Oh, wow, that was that close?
Yeah.
Hang on, Anthony, Peter,
Wow,
Jen.
no, I could go either way, to be honest with you. I
You
just,
thought it was gonna be a.
No, it's 5-4.
It was gonna be a solid.
yeah, I thought we were
It
already there.
was Jenny, myself, Ashley, and Anthony against it. All right, just for the record, one of the things that I did emphasize and kind of require moving forward with the budget meetings is I do want the digital version on a big screen for our people in the audience to follow along with. That is something I do want because I feel very bad, especially with the budget. We sit here, we're talking, we're looking, we're flipping, and they're just sitting there going, huh? You know, so we can look for so.
We'll be at the high school for both budget workshops, so we'll make sure we've got the screen there.
So something, and hopefully big enough to so, but you know, the hard part is somebody's gonna have to keep on top of that to keep the flow. I feel bad for our people in the audience. And if we're really good, we could send it over the owl too.
I make a motion to move to executive session. I'll second.
I don't believe I called for it. Although, do I have a motion to move to executive session?
I already did.
Okay, Bree,
Second.
second by Jenny. All those in favor of Alex's executive? Everybody but Anthony.
Was that the,
All those opposed? Anthony.
I know.
legal justification was Alex one?
Before you go,